Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Poised session. Poised is yellow tea. Yellow tea is the least understood in China. Oh, that was the wrong statement, wasn't it? We're already starting out with the wrong statement. This is too early for me to be starting with the wrong statement. It actually isn't well understood in China, but what I really meant to say is around the world, it's the least understood of the teas. By the end of today's session, you're going to have a better idea of what yellow tea is. You're going to have an idea of some of the benefits of what yellow tea bring to you. And you'll have a better idea of why the internet is so unsatisfactory for explaining yellow tea to you. These are the things that you will take away by the end of today's session. So let's start out with some shop news. Rob, yesterday, reminded me, you guys are going away. We are. We're going on our spring buying trip. Last day is tomorrow, and then we reopen on May 27th. So it's a long trip. We're taking customers with us. We're going to a yellow tea processing area during this trip, so that'll be fun. We're also going to Chimanil. We're going to Premier's Choice. So we're going to see a wide variety in addition to other sights and sounds and foods and so forth from Montclair province. But Rob suggested I talk a little bit about storage. And I do want to talk about storage. So when you're storing tea, as a reminder, green tea is the hardest to store. You need cool, consistent temperatures. If you're going to keep the green tea for a long time, store it in the refrigerator. However, when you store in the refrigerator, make sure it's in a either resealable bag, or if you have another container that's airtight, that's good too. So what do I mean by a long time? A year or more. If you're going to consume green tea within a year, store it just like we store here, 68 degrees or a little less all the time. You'll be just fine. Dark place, resealed bag, always. All the rest of the teas will follow those rules. The reason that Rob brought this up is he talked about all the products that he saw advertised in the world famous internet warehouse of goods. Let's see, what's the name of that place? Oh, that's right, Amazon. Yes. And how you can get really inexpensive storage solutions. But when you look at those solutions, oh, they're not airtight. Oops. Tea is heavily influenced by the smells wherever it's stored. So it's very important that it be airtight. So infinity jars, something that Jonathan introduced to the shop, those are good things. If you don't know what those are, look them up on the internet. They're really good storage containers. Hey, these things that you see behind us here, these jars, oh, those are outstanding storage containers. We still have a few more left if you want to buy some. Those are expensive. All right, so it's really important to store your tea properly so you get the proper length, you get the proper aging. What does aging mean here? Usually some sort of oxidation, although in the case of fully fermented, it's both fermentation and oxidation at the same time. So these are all very important elements of storing tea. Never, ever store tea in sunlight. That's the kiss of death for storing tea. That's a bad solution. All right. So yellow tea. Yellow tea is a very fertile area for LCSers. In fact, today you're going to learn a new term, the L size, the L size. And I've got to explain this term because you may not have seen it otherwise. in other places. LCSers, liars, cheaters, and scammers. But we're in the new era, aren't we? We've got the ASI, the AI LSSers, the LSIs. And how can you tell that you've encountered an LSI? Well, this morning I encountered one. It was incredible. I happened to be wandering through the internet. I do that occasionally, just for a good laugh, and came upon this site which claimed deep knowledge of yellow tea. I love deep knowledge because that means I'm going to learn stuff. So I go page after page after page. And on each of those pages in this site, the term yellow tea was listed. Oh, many, many times. And then generic terms about health, many, many times. And polyphenols. Oh, yes. I got a full load of all of those. And then these guys who put this together, oh, and these are LSIs, right? Because this is clearly an AI production. Talked about one of the key terms. And in the sessions upcoming, you're going to hear about this term, manhuang. And that's really this special yellowing process that turns the leaves yellow and that gives the character to yellow tea. Well, that was listed in this pages and pages and pages of yellow tea. And by the time I got through looking through the site, I was looking at the site for fun. But then I got more interested because it's page after page with a bunch of fluff and one or two keywords. And I realized, oh, I'm looking in the L side. So beware of this, because not that many people in China, let alone outside of China, let alone tea sellers in the West, understand yellow tea. So let's take a walk through history. Was yellow tea in its current form around in the Tang Dynasty or before? And let me get you situated, because I know I keep remembering, forgetting when the Tang Dynasty is also. So 618 to about 960, somewhere in that range. Was yellow tea the way we understand it today? That is, as a processing modality, was that existed in the Tang Dynasty? Without question, I can categorically say, no, it was not. That was not how tea, we have zero evidence that that's how tea was processed during the Tang Dynasty. In the Tang Dynasty, green tea was king. Oh, not only king, it was the only way, basically, that tea was processed. So why is there mention of yellow tea during the Tang Dynasty in documents? A conundrum until you think about the confusion that exists between the words yellow tea and then the missing word, yellow tea methodology. So there are varietals of bushes that have evolved over time where the tea leaves themselves actually are yellow. Hey, that's yellow tea. Yeah, okay, I get that. Not processed as yellow tea. And what further confused everything is that this was tribute tea that went to the emperor. And so everybody thinking, oh yeah, that emperor, really lucky, got yellow tea, got white tea. Oh, that's false. So false. If you're talking about methodology, got yellow color leaves tea that had a great taste, processed as a green tea, got white colored leaf tea, processed as a green tea, and it tasted great. But it's not yellow tea or white tea or any other tea, as far as we understand, processing methodology. And this has been a mistake that people both in China, but mostly outside of China, have made, because they read these texts and they're proud. Oh, I can read some classical Chinese. Hey, it says yellow tea. I knew it. I knew they had yellow tea at that time. So there's the conflation between color and processing methodology. So when did the processing methodology come into being? And what is this processing methodology, by the way? Well, let's start with the when first. So I'm happy to say I don't exactly know. What I can say is that during the Qing dynasty, I just used dynastic. Well, I better make up some numbers for when that was. Roughly between 1635 and 1911, when the Qing dynasty was extant, there was already a processing methodology that developed that we would recognize today as apparently yellow tea. We'll talk about what that looked like in a minute. Pre-Qing dynasty, did this exist? We're not clear. If it did, it was in a very, very narrow, very, very narrow amount or band of farmers were using this methodology, and it would only have been in Anhui or central China, most likely Hunan. But there is no clear thread back to, hey, this farmer originated, or this county originated. We do know that in Anhui, we've got 5 or 6 counties that are famous for their yellow tea. Famous for their yellow tea. So let's put this in perspective. Yellow tea constitutes less than 1% of the entire Chinese crop. The yellow tea processing methodology, less than 1%. This is why it's so little understood. And by the way, the LCSers and the LSIs, so the LCSers are the people who say they have yellow tea in China and sell it as yellow tea. You open the bag and you look, this doesn't feel like yellow tea to me. This feels like green tea that never went the full process for yellow tea. That's what you would think if you encountered that. And there are a number of those farms or individuals who are producing what they call yellow tea, but it's not. It's green tea. Why? Why label something? Is this an aesthetic consideration? Oh, customers will buy more if I just put yellow instead of green. Not exactly. Remembering what I just said 2 minutes ago, yellow tea is less than 1%, scarcity. So if you go to a scarce product and say, yeah, you can get your scarce product here. Oh, and mine's the real scarce product. You can charge a price for that. And that price is more than what the going price of green tea from the same area would be. By the way, green tea and yellow tea not grow, but are processed in adjoining areas. And so that's why sometimes this stuff slips into the market. And then when tea experts come through and say, wait a minute, this is mislabeled, mispackaged, and it's selling for 5 times what the green tea is. Oh, wait a minute, we have something else at work here. So let's quickly go through the processing methodology and let's kind of really separated from the green tea. So it goes as follows. You pick the tea. Oh, that sounds the same as green tea. Yep, you do pick the tea. What about the pick for yellow tea? It's almost always a spring pick. It's almost always what they would call a grade 1 or higher pick. So either predominantly buds or a bud and a leaf, never more than a bud and 2 leaves. So that's what the pick is. So if you're getting a yellow tea and it's a claimed yellow tea and it's a bud and 3 or 4 leaves, one of 2 things happen. You're getting the lowest possible grade of yellow tea, or it just simply isn't yellow tea. First thing. So there's a pick. It's a premium pick. They're careful because they want uniformity in this pick. So it's a very precise pick. You bring the tea into the factory and you wither. Now, you probably have an L side if the description goes, you wither so that you can oxidize and then move to the next step. That is not why you were withering. It's not remotely the case of why you're withering. Why do you wither? You're obviously going to do something with the tea leaves. You're either going to roll them or in some way manipulate and shape them. And in order to do that, they have to be soft. They have to be manipulable. Oh, I made a mess out of that word. Pliable. Let's use another long word. One that I can actually handle. They have to be pliable. I haven't had enough yellow tea. That's why I stumbled over the other word. So no further commentary necessary from all of you on that. They have to be pliable. Then, after you've withered, and somebody's going to ask me, what about how long do you wither? I don't know. Because by region, it's different. And so we know you wither at least 30 minutes, more likely an hour or so. However, what's the standard? The standard is how, first off, how it smells, and then secondly, how it feels. That's farmer's standard. After you manipulate it, one of 2 things happens. No matter what, you have to apply heat. Why? Because now, if you're going to do manipulations, you're going to break the cell walls, right? And that will start the process of oxidation, the enzymatic process of oxidation, unless you apply heat. Okay, well, I'm in China. I'm used to applying heat. You just go out to walk and you walk it, right? And the answer is sometimes that's right, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes they steam it. So, in a way, truly a link to traditional history. Because remembering, in the Tang Dynasty, were they walking or steaming? Turns out they were entirely steaming. They didn't start to roast their tea in a wok until sometime into the Sung Dynasty. And remembering that that was a palate change. So they're steaming, and so some of the farmers have continued to use that as part of the methodology. And what are they doing with that again? They're denaturing the enzyme that controls oxidation. So after they do that, then, hey, these things got to look pretty. So you got to shape them. You shape them, And then you come to this magic step. It's almost as if you're reading a science fiction novel, a good science fiction novel. Oh yeah, you go through this magic chamber, and the wizards apply all of this magic stuff, and 12 hours to 72 hours later, out comes yellow tea. So what is this magic stuff that the internet describes all around but doesn't bullseye? So it depends where you are. If you're in Junshan Island, and everybody's looking at their clock as if I am going too slowly, I'll speed it up. Okay, I get it. Everybody's thirsty. I absolutely get that. But I got to get through this wizard part first, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about. So if you're in Junshan Island, which is not where we are today, we're in Anhui. I'm going to talk about what we do in Anhui. But in Junshan Island, they put it in something like parchment paper in 2-pound packages, put it in temperature controlled and humidity controlled rooms, and for a period of 5, 6, 7, or 8 hours, let it do its work. Mix it all, fry, redo, mix it all, fry, redo, all the way until you get to about 72 hours. Is that what they're doing with Poised? Not exactly. Close enough, because the principle is there. First off, it's not 72 hours. It's a much shorter period of time. It's closer to 24 hours. And are they using parchment paper? Probably not the same type of parchment paper that they're using in Junshan area. And this is important because that's an IP for Junshan Island. You go down there and you ask, hey, I hear you guys use parchment paper, or you use the Chinese term. I hear you guys use this special paper for, wrapping it up and, getting it ready. And everybody nods their head. Yeah, we do that. And it's manufactured, off the island and so forth. Can I see any? Oh, we've used up everything that's in supply. Oh, and where's that factory again? Oh gosh, I don't know. I've forgotten what the address is. It's IP. They won't tell you exactly what it looks like. So there's clearly something about that paper which is very special. I call it parchment paper because in all the descriptions that I've ever heard or seen, it feels to me like it's some variation of parchment paper. But I don't know this for a fact, although it would be a bad idea to bet against me. Poised. They're using a paper which is somewhat like parchment paper. They also sometimes use something that's made of bamboo, and again make smaller packages, though not as small as what they do in Junshan Island. And they're not doing it as long and as many times. And so what happens? So that's the real key thing that all of you should be asking me. Okay, I'm hearing this. Maybe there's paper, maybe there isn't, maybe there's bamboo. Does this matter to me? Well, the answer is yes, because you want this flavor and you want the quality of the leaves. And this is important. When I say quality of the leaves, I'm really talking about health benefits that the leaves produce. That's what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that in a minute. And they do it for X number of hours. And all of this is different by farmer. That's why you're so dissatisfied with what I'm saying, because we're Americans. Betty Crocker taught us that every recipe has minutes assigned to it. Where are my minutes? How many minutes are you going through this munhwa process? How many times are you doing it? Answer is, I don't know. That's the true answer. Because I think, no, not I think, I know by season, by weather, and by custom, everything is determined on the spot. It isn't that type of formula that you can look up in a book. You got to do this. So I'm going to take a digression here. Even though the audience here is very thirsty, I'm still going to take a digression. And then we're going to get to tea. So did the yellow tea processing methodology, was that all the way through without any interruption from the Qing dynasty up till today? Answer is no. Let's go back to 1971. And this is interesting because in tea lore, lots of things happened in the early 1970s. And what I'm talking about is 71, 72, and 73. Why did they happen? Well, let's think about Chinese history. Oh, yes. Between 1966 and 1976, oh, yeah, we had the Cultural Revolution. Everybody was learning to become very cultured, right? Oh, wait a minute. Let's dial that back. Everybody was busy trying to figure out how China was going to move forward. And at some point, there was a political struggle. And during that political struggle, in the early 1970s, what happened is people at the top were so busy with struggle, people at the level of the farm and in charge of farms, hey, let's see if we can do some experiments. We have some time. Let's experiment. And so they knew, and who's the they here? Scientists and tea historians knew that the yellow tea process seemed to have been lost. It seemed that all the old farmers who had been doing it had stopped. A lot of reasons. We're not going to go into all those reasons, otherwise you'll be really thirsty. But it had stopped. And as such, in that year, there was an initiative at that level. This is at the tea science level. Let's bring this process back if we can. At a minimum, let's document it from the old farmers. So that's when it restarted. So you had an interregnum where all of a sudden it wasn't being done and probably stopped being done during World War II. And then you had this renaissance, so to speak. Hey, let's figure it out. Let's document. Let's see if we can't get it restarted. So Poised goes back to 1971 when this started, this movement in the areas where yellow tea had been processed before. And so you're having a direct line to, yes, everybody is truly waving at me that they're extremely thirsty, and I am there. Yes.
One question in that research and recollection, you mentioned also there was a period where they steamed instead of fried. Is there any yellow tea now that's being steamed and not being fried currently in China?
Yes, this is a great question. So the question was, and this means that I spoke badly. The questioner said there was a period where it was steamed instead of fried. That's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say is both things happened simultaneously. You had some farmers steaming, you had some farmers frying. To this day, I believe there are still some farmers that steam to denature and to get, and there's a reason for that. I can see I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Okay, I'll make this reason real fast. Since you're going to put it in a humid, contained humid package, where you control temp and humidity, steaming in some ways might be better than frying for some areas, So I think that that's why the steaming has still stuck around, even though in the rest of the tea industry, virtually everything else is frying. All right. There is a miniature riot going on in front of me. I don't know how I'm able to keep my focus with you because everybody is noting how thirsty they are. That means you on the other side of the camera are also noting thirst. I apologize. I had to get you started because we're going to be gone for 6 weeks. So without further ado, wearing bright yellow, the luminous, oh, wait a minute, that's not yellow, I'm colorblind. Wearing very lucky red, the numinous tea master will come and demonstrate yellow tea. Biju.
Okay. 早上好 ，Good morning. Yeah. 我们做广场。
Oh, we're doing yellow tea. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah. 水的温度要保持低温。
So we have to have low temp. So setup is as usual. So ignore these 4 cups. It's this 2 cups and this strainer. These are the tools you'll need at home. These are for extra cups for the very boisterous audience we have here this morning. By the way, just in case you wondered, we're going to miss you a lot while we're traveling. All right, she heats up all the cups. And you're going to notice rhythm. She has a reason for everything she does. And the thing that all of you should opt for is developing rhythm. You develop your own rhythm. You don't have to copy exactly her rhythm. You develop your own rhythm. Cheers for that, fun way. So she's drawing 175-degree water. At some point, you're going to see here aerate the water, dissipate the steam, get that temperature down a bit. Ideally, for a high-quality tea like this, you want it, a high-quality yellow tea like this, you want it at about 170, 171, 172, 173. You're still gonna like it. So at the end of the day, yellow tea is lightly oxidized, slightly more than white tea, and very, very lightly fermented. And we're going to talk about why this is important, but not right this minute. Instead, we're going to watch the tea master. Nice, steady steps. Putting the poised 6 grams into the cup, shaking the cup. Just going to smell it to make sure. Yeah, that's right. That's poised. Pouring it into the kettle so that she can control the pour. And in a minute, she's going to remind me, put the 2 minutes on. Yeah.
How does the caffeine level compare with, say, green tea?
Oh, this is a great question. So the questioner says, if I want to get buzzed, will I get as much buzz from the caffeine with yellow tea as I do with green tea? And the answer is no. because it's a little more processed, it'll be a little bit less, not a huge amount less. And generally speaking, because there's also a slight amount of fermentation, what you're going to find is that it's not going to be, if you're sensitive to green tea on an empty stomach, yellow tea on an empty stomach won't be as stimulating. And so that's really important to understand. So you can actually, you can try and see. For me, I'm good either way, whether it's green tea or yellow tea, but some people are especially sensitive, should be less sensitive to the yellow tea. So, alleged health benefits. Let's talk about that for a minute, because there's a lot of research done in Japan. There's more and more research done in China. And really, it looks like somehow, and nobody quite understands the mechanism, one of the largest organs in your body, it's not the very largest, it's the second largest organ in your body. See, I'm testing all of you who know your organs, and that would be the liver. This seems to have the greatest positive effect on the liver. The Japanese have done a ton of research on this, and they say, yeah, yellow tea is really effective on the liver. All right. Timer is going off. Tea master comes over. Separates the tea leaves from the tea water. Terrific. All right. So I'm going to enter the quality arena. First thing I'm going to do is take a look at this color. Color is beautiful. It's light, transparent, and it's just a lovely yellowish green, greenish yellow, very transparent, and huge aroma. All right, I'm going to enter the quality arena. I'm going to look at astringency. I'm going to look at aftertaste. And I'm going to look at energetics. Remember, by the way, take notes on this, because I forgot to mention at the beginning, this is a set of 3 on yellow tea. Poised is the first one. First steps will be the next, and you'll end up with old gold. All right. And I'll talk to you before we're finished about what schedule will look like over the next 6 weeks. So I've taken an initial sip. I'm establishing the level of astringency in my mouth and where it is. I'm thinking about, do I have an aftertaste? It's weak right now, but it'll develop. And I don't have energetics yet. Let me try again. And this time I'm thinking about aroma and taste as well. Okay. Wow, I'm getting more on this one. Okay, it's your turn to go ahead and brew the tea. Tea master's going to brew with you here. So she's drawing her water, 175-degree water. She's going to make sure all the glasses are heated, absolutely clean, no residue of any kind. We want this tea full strength, whatever that strength is. This is where we get to play with water. Oh, I just love this part. This is the best part of the demonstration. Except I'm not playing with it. I'm only watching it. Tea master has rhythm, okay? And she has order too. Things are supposed to be where they are. It's supposed to be. things always look so orderly. It's such an embarrassment when I'm behind the counter and, customers are walking me, and I think about watching, Bijou. Her stuff is always so orderly. My stuff is all over the counter, water's all over the counter. Everybody, the point here is everybody has their own rhythm, and that's okay. Aerating the water, dissipating the steam.
Jonathan asked, are there similar championships for quality yellow tea, like as there are for the Cliff tea?
Great question. So, Jonathan asked, just like the Cliff teas where they have an annual championship, and some of the green teas where areas have annual championships, are there annual championships for yellow tea? And the answer is I don't know. I am not aware of any from that standpoint because there's so few farmers. Somehow I get the feeling every time I see a farmer from the yellow tea region that they're more in cooperation rather than competition. It's really a different feel. As rare as the Cliff teas are, and they are rare because they've been a steady lineage for X hundreds of years. I think that there is more of that sense of competition. Hey, mine's better than yours. Whereas with the yellow, remember, I said 1971 was kind of a starting point. So if you think about it, this is less than 50 years. Oh, bad math. This is just slightly more than 50 years. Yes.
How does yellow tea rate in the pantheon of gift teas for a tea
Oh.
aficionado?
Great question. So if you're trying to attain some sort of objective in China and trying to get something done, if you want to give an encouragement gift, where does yellow tea stand in the line of encouragement gifts? Is it as encouraging as, say, a scarlet rose or a dragon? So I have to be careful in how I answer this because I see that I'm going down a very dangerous road here. And so let me answer it this way. Because yellow tea is relatively less known, you might have the best yellow tea in the world and you give it as a gift, but the person who's receiving, because they don't really understand, well, this isn't Scarlet Rose. This isn't Dragonfly. I know those two names and I know the value of those. The fact that what you're giving them is priceless doesn't matter. It only matters if they understand it's priceless. So the result is, if you do a lot of upfront explaining before you give the gift, hey, love y'all. I'm going to give you this gift that you only get in one other place. And you set it up that way. Okay, that's good. But if you just give a gift thinking, oh, they'll know right away that I'm giving them this special gift, not necessarily. So if you don't want to take a chance, give a gift of Dragonwell or Scarlet Robe, something that everybody's heard of, if you need that gift to have an immediate effect.
Very helpful answer. Peter B asks, are any monasteries associated or rely heavily on yellow tea in their tradition?
Oh, what a great question. So, and I appreciate this question, Peter. Peter asked the question.
Just 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes, yes. While John is thinking, Peter asked the question whether yellow tea is part of any monasterial traditions. And I have to answer that I don't think so.
2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes, okay. And here's the reason why. Because remember that there was a break in, hold on a second, I gotta get this right. Yeah, we'll tell it. What's up? Trying to manipulate all this at one time. Very good. Okay. Remembering that there was this break, I have the sense that there are, yeah, I did. Yo Siga. I have the sense that there aren't monasterial traditions that really are around yellow tea. Although, you're making me think about there is a famous monastery not far from where yellow tea is. But again, the break in production would have meant that, and especially if they weren't doing it at the monastery, which I don't think they were, there's no record that I'm aware of that they're doing yellow tea at a monastery. So I wandered through that whole answer, and sorry for you having to go through all that thought process. And I think the answer is no. That was a long no. That was terrible, not an economic no. But you got the full thought process. All right. You set yours all for 2 minutes, and it's working hard and almost done. Wow.
How well studied or frequently studied is yellow tea by the Tea Institute in China?
Great question. So the questioner asked, how much research has gone into yellow tea by tea institutes or by universities? And the answer would be, it's accelerating. I can't give you a number compared to other types of tea. I will tell you that number two, that the intensity is less, number three, than other types of teas. So why do I know this to be a fact? The first big important tea institute in China was founded in 1932. Okay, they're all done. And that was in Fujian province, and they weren't doing yellow tea at all. Subsequent tea institutes, and already the interregnum was starting because World War II was accelerating. So, and it's an ongoing, okay. As now I'm thinking of all the reasons why there just hasn't been much until starting around 1980, there starts to be interest. The Japanese, for whatever reason, start to have real interest in yellow tea by the year 2000, and they're starting to do research. Their research is different. Their research is different than, say, the research in China, because the research in the institute in China is about how do I make this tea more productive. The Japanese research was, hey, when I'm drinking this stuff, look at my body. There's the liver, which seems to be having a great effect. I wonder why. Let's research this. So there's two types of research that we talk about. One is health benefits, and the other is how do we get this better, faster, more productive? Yeah.
With yellow tea as a methodology, are there particular varietals that you're aware farmers will use only for yellow tea versus turning into a green tea?
Great question. So what varietals, might there be varietals which are solely connected to yellow tea? The answer is yes. So if you think of Junshan needle, that varietal, whenever you hear somebody say, I have Junshan needle, nobody thinks of anything except yellow tea. Is it possible to use that varietal to make another type of tea? It's absolutely possible. But why would you do that? If you said, I might give you some Junshan white tea, everybody looks at you with a blank look. And when you say, I want, $2,000 a pound, come again? This isn't Junshan needle. Wow. Kim?
Yep.
Okay, great. And I took that small intermission so I could take an extra drink of yellow tea. So sorry about that. That was just me being greedy. Okay. So it's time for you to enter the tea arena. And when you enter that tea arena, where's the astringency? What's the aftertaste? What are the interjects? And by the way, I'm getting answers to all three of those now. Yes.
Rob observes the scent of the warm leaves was filled with umami and hints of chocolate. Sue described it as chocolate brownies. The warm leaves have a more floral, grassy scent, whereas the tea water was moist in the nose with a light aroma of hints of grass, The tea coated my tongue and yet also had a mint-like astringency in the aftertaste. Shall we go back to scent?
Yes, let's go back to scent.
Scent of the warm leaves, it hits you with umami and hints of chocolate, the chocolate brownies.
Okay. Rob has a very detailed description. Let's start with scent. Umami and hints of chocolate. And I like this. The umami is very obvious to me. The hints of chocolate, less so. The umami, I definitely, but I'm not saying that there aren't hints. I catch where that hint of chocolate is.
The warm leaves then was where the florality and a little grassiness comes into the scent.
Love this comment. The warm leaves, hints of florality and grassiness. For me, I would have said it the other way around. Grassiness and florality. But it doesn't matter. Remember, we're tasting the same thing we're getting slightly different reads, but the overall direction straight on.
The tea water was moist in the nose with a light aroma with hints of grass.
Hints of what?
Grass.
Grass, okay. Tea water, what's in the nose?
It's moist.
Moist. I love this. Moist in the nose with an aftertaste of hints of grass. Love this description. Especially, let's start with the hints of grass. When you ask me, what's a prototypical grassy taste that's really good? Not a thin one, but a good grassy taste. I would say that this fits that bill. The moistness in the nose, I love that because it suggests a density, a richness of flavor, again, leading with grassiness, and it's not an unpleasant grassiness. So many people associate grassiness with unpleasantness because it's thin. This is not thin. This has body. Great comment.
To that point, Rob also observes the tea coated his tongue, yet it also had a mint-like astringency.
Love it. Coated his tongue. My tongue is coated, absolutely coated. And he notes a mint-like astringency. There's definitely, for me, a mint aftertaste. The coat of the tongue is absolutely, for me, the coat of the tongue is on both sides and it seeps up the center. Doesn't go all the way to the tip, but both sides and at the center. It is big in terms of hey, I'm here.
Peter observes, on awakening the leaves, I find a beautiful, inviting smell that brings to mind something sauteed in the pan.
Oh, this is great. So Peter catches the awakening smell as if it's been sauteed in a pan. And why do I like this? Because what he's really saying is that there's an underlying roastiness in this, and there actually is. So in all that grass and hints of umami and density, hey, where's the roast? It's there. It's supporting all these other flavors. Great catch. So as you're thinking about this tea, one of the other things, and even if you aren't a yellow tea, even if you don't like yellow tea very much, there are some things about it you should know. Is there a comment?
Peter asks, it's taken me some time to find the energetics, and I think that due to the essence of it, there's a gentle evenness to it, a very smooth, balancing warmth throughout, especially noticeable in my limbs on this full day.
Oh, this is really interesting. So Peter talks about the energetics, gentle, warm, throughout the limbs. I have a definite warming. For me, the energetics are actually in the chest and the stomach area. There's a warming for me, and there is a gentleness. I would add to all of that, there is a factor that I call drinkability. And what I mean by this is when you start drinking it, you have a hard time stopping drinking it. In other words, this is the type of tea that if you're not present and you take your eye off the ball and start chatting with people, the next thing you look, who drank my tea? Who drank my tea? It's that easy to drink. And thinking of so many teas that we have, they're drinkable for different reasons. This is drinkable for a different reason than a redwood. Many times it's the sweetness. Here, it's the warmth, the moistness, and the fact, and let's go back to Rob's minty aftertaste comment, because I think that's another part of it, because who in the world doesn't like mint? I know there are a few people who don't like mint, but for the most part, people who like mint, all of a sudden they relax, they salivate, and what's next? You drink. Okay, as usual, I am with tea champions. I love living among tea champions. You know, it always makes me feel like I could become a tea champion. So hanging out with you guys is just great. Let's talk about what you're going to see over the next few weeks. You're not going to see us live. That's the first thing. And we're already disappointed that we're not going to see you live. However, we've done the next best thing. We pre-recorded 4 sessions. So 2 more of the yellow, First Steps in Old Gold. And then we have a break of 2 weeks. And your tea tastings on the bags will indicate this. And then we start up with 6 weeks of Cliff teas. 2 of those weeks, we have a pre-recording. So the first one is escaping me. The second one is Flowery Passion. So you're going to have 2 Cliff teas, and then we'll be back for the May 30th session, and that'll be a Cliff tea as well. So you have some responsibilities in our absence. You know, while we're gone, no sneaking into boardroom. All right, that has bad consequences, and we'll know. By the way, we will know. Secondly, you got to take care of your health, because when we come back, we're going to have stories and all sorts of things to talk about, and we want you to be healthy so you can hear these stories. So take good care during these weeks. Enjoy the sessions. We'll put them up over the next week or so, and you'll be able to access them over YouTube. I apologize for all the emails last night. There should have only been 2, but because anyway, understudy error. I separated the Poised photos from the original email. The usual thing that you come to expect from me. And then I gave you all the photos of all the other things that you'll taste during the upcoming weeks. We really will miss you. We look forward to seeing you when we come back. We'll see you on May 30th. Have fun now. Take care.
Care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.